What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We're finally back for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's taken me a little bit of time to do this one. We've had a lot of sprints concentrated in a very small amount of time. Qatar, USA, Brazil, all sprints happening within 4 races of one another. Yeah, that is a lot of sprints in a short amount of time, and it made things a little bit difficult for me because obviously I don't always have the most time in the mornings. You know, obviously I think a lot of you guys know I'm also a streamer as well, so I don't have an abundance of time to spend recording and editing these and that kind of thing, and the sprint ones always do take a little bit longer, another 30 to 45 minutes usually, even though you wouldn't think it was that long. It really does actually stack up quite a lot. So yeah, here we are, and we're going to be doing a few upgrades beforehand, putting on an upgrade for the reliability department or the durability department, because that's the only thing that we can get right now. There's actually a free one here which we're taking. We have a few what are they called, adaptations that we made as well for the regulation changes coming in, which is going to be affecting every department except Aero, which I'm actually a little bit glad about, because Aero is the one we have invested the most time and resources into and would be the most painful to try and cover off. So I'm not too unhappy about that. But yeah, Brazil, it's a track that typically I'm pretty good around. F1 22, it was always a bit of a favorite of mine. We definitely should have scored points here in our first season if it weren't for the mechanical failure that we suffered. We did have a number of failures here, if I remember correctly, but the fact that it was a sprint weekend always kind of bailed us out a little bit. Always meant we were able to get one good result usually. I think there was only one year I DNF'd both times during the Brazil sprint, but hopefully, or during the Brazil Grand Prix I should say, the sprint and the race. But yeah, in any case, let's hope that that doesn't happen here today. We've only had 2 mechanical failures all season so far in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Since then, the car hasn't broken down a single time. So clearly, even on increased failure count, it's not quite as bad. But as we made our way through practice, it's not looking bad, is it? 6/10 up on Charles Leclerc, also on the soft compound tyres. If I can hook that kind of thing up on a set of soft tyres in qualifying, we could be on for pole position here based on that kind of form. We were nearly 4 seconds faster than Enzo, who granted was on the hards, but still a very poor showing from him all around, I would say. And, I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if we can convert that form in quali and maybe bag our first ever pole position. If we don't get it today, I would wage to say we're not going to get one in our debut season. But, you know, that's to be expected. We're in one of the worst cars on the grid at the moment. So, yeah, I'm optimistic about what the future holds for our team, but not for the rest of the season. We just want to consolidate P8 in the championship. Maybe if we can score a decent chunk of points, maybe outperform Haas and get into P7 in the Constructors' Championship. Driver standings is largely irrelevant. Where we finish, it only really affects driver acclaim, which I guess does affect money. But, you know, I think we'll probably end up around sort of P11 where we are at the moment, if I had to guess. We've done pretty well, though. We've already scored about 40 points this season. So whatever happens now, I'd say that we've done a fairly good job. But as we move into qualifying now, you can see my first flying lap, we do a 109.1, and the only people that's slower than are the Red Bulls. So yeah, I decide that that's probably good enough, and I'm going to go out on the same set of tyres again. We were P7 by the time that happened, but nonetheless, it's still a very good position, so I don't regret my decision to go out on the same set of tyres 2 times in a row. And yeah, we're comfortably through to Q2 in P7, so very nice. And hopefully we can continue that level that we were showing there and get into Q3 with no real issues as well. You might not be surprised to learn that Enzo Fittipaldi, in what is comfortably the worst car on the grid now, has been eliminated from the session, along with Sargent De Vries, Hulkenberg, Albon and Joe. So yeah, only the Williams, the only car that got both cars out in Q1. Meanwhile, Magnussen actually making it through over Hulkenberg, perhaps putting Hulkenberg's reputation as a quali specialist on the line a little bit maybe. But as we make it through to Q2 now, we're going to be on a fresh set of soft compound tyres to start things off. We actually maybe got a little bit blocked by Leclerc. I don't think it will affect us too much, but it is still a little bit annoying perhaps as he's just getting ready to start a run as we were ending a run. But nonetheless, it doesn't stop us from doing a 108.9. We improved from the previous session. But once again, Perez is just a little bit faster than us, 1/10 faster. And yeah, that is a little bit of a source of frustration for us. But we still went out on the same set of tyres again. You know, I figured we'd probably be good enough to make it through. And indeed, we do. We're in P6 as we cross the line. And that is going to see us through to Q3. And we've only used 2 sets of tyres, which means we're going to have 2 fresh sets of soft compound tyres to make it through as high up the grid as we can to start the sprint. We will be taking some grid penalties because we've replaced a few components here and there, so I think we'll be starting in the race probably quite low down, but the sprint, obviously, the penalties don't affect. In this session, we say goodbye to Gasly, both McLarens of Norris and Piastri, both Aston Martins of Alonso and Stroll, and also Magnussen. But Bottas and Tsunoda making it through. Very impressive from them, especially considering their teammates eliminated in Q1. I guess you could say the same for me, but I'm having a pretty strong season of things. I think now that we've out-qualified Piastri, that is the rivalry basically wrapped up, which means I will be bumping up the difficulty starting in Vegas, which is going to be fun, to 97, I believe it will be. I think that was our 3rd rivalry. We've won 2, drawn 1, and lost none so far, so we're looking much better on the rivalry front this time around. But I'm sure the next people that will probably give me to have as rivals will be like the Ferraris or something, which might be a little bit harder. If it's the Aston Martins, that might not be so bad, but anything else I think is going to be pretty rough. First flying lap, 108.6, and suddenly we are cooking like you wouldn't believe. I don't know where this pace has come from, but we were 3/10 faster than we were in Q2. And indeed, as we come round the final corner in Q3 on our 2nd flying lap, we've improved again by a couple of tenths. I don't know if this is going to be good enough for pole position, but it's going to be damn close. We've crossed the line. It's a 108.4. I don't think it was quite enough for pole, but it does put us P3 to tie our best ever qualifying. We've got P3 in Silverstone as well. And, well, we have done miraculously well to be only 5/100ths of a second off of Lewis Hamilton at the top of the field. I am very satisfied with that, and hopefully we can maybe do what we did in Silverstone again. I think it was Leclerc and Hamilton starting ahead of us on that occasion as well. Maybe we can do what we did then and jump the both of them off the start and get into the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix earlier. Obviously, it will only be the sprint, but it still is exciting nonetheless. So here is confirmation here that we have beaten Piastri in the rivalry. Somehow we got 4 points and I got 3, which I don't really understand. But we beat him nonetheless. It doesn't matter. We pretty much trounced him. I think there was only one race that he outperformed us in, and then all the other ones we were comprehensively faster than he was. So that's pretty nice. And yeah, I imagine our rival will graduate up to being probably either Norris next or one of Stroll or Alonso. I would wager to say I think we could comfortably beat Stroll. I'm not sure about Alonso. He seems like he's going to be a tougher nut to crack if that is the case. But we have made it through qualifying now. We're going to be starting P3 in the sprint. I don't know why I was about to say 6 or 7. But yeah, we're going to be starting P3 in the sprint. And hopefully we can get a good result from that. Maybe a podium. But if not, then at least a points finish as we get now into the sprint.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Robinson, Perez, Verstappen, Russell, Sainz, Ocon, Bottas, Tsunoda, Gasly, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Joe, Albon, Hulkenberg, De Vries, Sargent, and Enzo Fittipaldi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Eerily silent all of a sudden. I don't know if Mark's going to say anything to disrupt the flow of what I'm saying, but I might just plow straight through and talk over the top of him as we get ready to go into the sprint now. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden all the chatter just died down as we get ready to go here. Nothing from Mark on this occasion. P3, he doesn't care. We're going to be starting on a set of soft compound tyres and taking them to the end, so they might be a little bit worn by the time that we get there, but hopefully they won't be too bad. And we can look at potentially jumping these guys and maybe even finishing in the top 3. Like I said, I don't think that we'll be getting a podium in the race on account of the fact that we'll be starting much further down with the grid penalties. But let's see how many positions we can either gain or at least hold on to. Obviously, we've got some fast cars starting behind us. Championship leader Carlos Sainz, his rival Russell, and both of the Red Bulls are directly behind us. So I think P7 has to be the target in this race. But anything more than that is going to be a bonus as we get ready to go now. And yeah, we'll see what we can do as the lights come on here in Sao Paulo. And the lights go out, and we've had a pretty good getaway, at least compared to the pole man Hamilton, who is going to immediately lose out to both me and Charles Leclerc. I'm going to try and go around the outside of Charles Leclerc, but he breaks a tiny bit later. Hamilton on my inside as well, but we do manage to cover him off for the time being, and that is us off the start up into P2, so I'm pretty happy with that, and we'll see if we can get even more positions gained. Can we challenge Leclerc? He's already half a second up the road. Immediately, it is becoming glaringly obvious to me where I'm fast and where I'm slow. In a straight line, I am slow. In the corners, I am fast. So I'm going to have to try and break away from Hamilton as much as I can in the corners so he can't close me down in the straights. But the tyres aren't perfectly warmed up yet, so we're going to have to still continue to try and warm them up. But I think as we go through this sort of technical, twisty section, I have every confidence in the world that we are going to pull away at least a little bit of a gap to Hamilton. They're running way less downforce. The default setups on this game were so low downforce when I drove around Brazil, it was almost undrivable. So I'm glad I finally have a proper setup that runs a little bit higher downforce. I think we're running like 28, 25 wings. You might think that's a little bit extreme, but I have to say it's pretty nice to pull away from these guys so much in the corners. You know, it doesn't affect me too much in the straights, especially when I'm deploying battery. Obviously, I can't deploy battery for the whole sprint, otherwise that would defeat the purpose. We're already over a second down on Charles Leclerc, but I'm not even that mad, you know. If we finish P2, I'll be pretty happy with that. We just have to try and get as good runs through these corners as we possibly can and see what we can do. But as we move now on to lap 4, you can see that I'm coming under pressure from Sergio Perez, and he gets ahead of us. He got ahead of Hamilton earlier, and now he's made his way into P2. So a respectable drive from Sergio Perez coming out here, and now I imagine we're going to be coming under pressure from the Mercedes as well as we move towards the end of lap 5 and on to the start of lap 6. You can see that Hamilton is only 2 tenths behind me, even with the DRS to Perez in front. I'm a bit of a sitting duck in a straight line, and through goes Hamilton to take P3 and kick us off the podium, as it were. So, yeah, we're going to see if we can try and get back at him, but probably not. There's a yellow flag behind. We'll see in just a moment what that is for. It is this man, Pierre Gasly, having some kind of engine failure in the sprint. Disappointing for him. I think he was running in the top 10. Obviously, no points for the top 10, only for the top 8. But, yeah, I'm sure he will still be pretty upset that he couldn't get a better result off the back of that. And, yeah, that is his race over, and now we are moving through to the end of lap 6, where I'm coming under pressure from Lewis Hamilton's teammate just a lap after I was overtaken by Hamilton. His teammate is now going to breeze his way past us with the DRS as well and take P4, and we are down to P5, and we're going to be coming under pressure from Verstappen if we're not careful at this rate. I think he is closing us down a little bit as we go past the wreck of Gasly there, and as we move towards the end of lap 7, you can see that Verstappen has closed me down quite dramatically. Only 5 tenths now. Sainz as well behind. Could potentially put us down at that P7. I don't want to go any lower than that if we can possibly avoid it. That is the lowest possible position I want to find ourselves in, as Verstappen makes his way through up into P5, pushes us down to P6, and yeah, we just don't have the pace to compete with these guys. Look, I might be fast in qualifying, but in the race, I am not able to contend with these guys. But this is Carlos Sainz, who on lap 10 was still trying to get past me, so I think that maybe those guys had taken the best out of their tyres by this point. And Carlos Sainz closing us down quite dramatically, but can't quite seem to make the overtake. And as he comes through this corner, you can see he's had a spin, and that is the championship leader round having a spin. Absolutely devastating for Carlos Sainz. And yeah, he will not be happy with that whatsoever. And that's probably going to help us stay P6, which as we round the final corner, we do just that in the worst car on the grid as well. So you can't be too disappointed with that. Final few corners, coming up now, and as we take the run to the checkered flag, that is going to be P6 in the sprint. I am very pleased with that.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And take care of the car on the way in, I shall, because we've got another race coming up in just a moment's time. Driver of the day goes to Lance Stroll. And yeah, we now have to change tune and get ready for the race.
Well, it wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. Well, that wraps up sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Well, I think Carlos Sainz is going to be very upset about that as he sees his championship lead slip further through his fingers. He was dominating the championship at one point. I said it would be his to lose, and lose it he seems to be doing right now. I think it might be George Russell potentially coming into the fray here. Lewis Hamilton not a million miles away, and even there is an outside chance, I think still, that Leclerc and Verstappen could get back into it. Pretty much no chance for Perez at this point because he's just a little bit further afield of everyone else. But yeah, I still think any one of those guys it could potentially go to. I'm not sure if that's mathematically possible at the moment.
Mate, so
but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether Leclerc or Verstappen can get back into it. They're not quite as close as Russell and Hamilton. But yeah, we have another race to do now, so let's see if we can get a good result. We're going to be starting a lot further down with the grid penalties as we get into the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Welcome to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner, and just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil, is a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Verstappen, Ocon, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Magnussen, Sargent, Hülkenberg, Norris, De Vries, Sainz, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi, Robinson, Joe, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot today. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. It's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. And we welcome Anthony Davidson to the commentary box. And we're looking at the champion. Can they relax, or are they going to be taking it as seriously as they did race 1?
I agree it's been a truly impressive season, but championship or no, I don't think they'll be gently cruising around to the finish line. In fact, with points no longer a concern, there's a lot less to risk, so we may even see a more aggressive approach.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Not really sure what they're fucking talking about, the world champion. There's literally like a single-digit points in it with 3 races to go. What are they on? But yeah, in any case, we're going to be starting P20 with those grid penalties. Carlos Sainz suffering quite a lot from his spin and everything that happened with him in the sprint. He's going to be starting P17, and we are going to try and see if we can make up as many positions as we possibly can. Only people starting behind us are Gasly, who retired, and Zhou Guanyu. So yeah, this is going to be pretty brutal. I think the target here has to simply be to get back into the points if we can. Anything more than that is going to be a huge bonus. But yeah, if I can get top 10 somehow from 20th on the grid, I'll be very pleased with that. We look like we had pretty good pace in the sprint, but now it's time for the lights to come on. And the lights go out as we get away quickly compared to Tsunoda and Sainz ahead, and to my teammate, to be fair, as well. We're going to potentially go for a look up the inside of those guys, but I think better of it. And yeah, indeed, we're pinched to the inside by Tsunoda here. We've got ahead of Sainz, who had an appalling start. and it's gone from bad to worse for him, really. I think we're going to try and get ahead of Tsunoda, but as we're squeezed to the inside there, we just can't quite manage to make the move, and it is P18. I think Carlos Sainz potentially looking for a move around the outside of me as well, but he has to brake early to stop from going into the back of Tsunoda, and that is going to allow me to keep him behind, and we stay P18 for the time being. So it's not been a great start. We've only made up a couple positions, but I'm still not too disappointed with that. We got ahead of Fittipaldi at least quite quickly, which is something I was quite keen to do, and we're going to try and go up the inside of Tsunoda as we end up turning, me braking a little bit too late, into an attack on him, and we make our way through into P17. So we've already made up 3 positions off the start, and indeed we're going to go up the inside of Norris here as well, who, yeah, I think he had a grid penalty or something like that as well. So he's found his way all the way down into P17 now that we've overtaken him. And yeah, we're looking pretty fast here. You know, through the corners, because we've got such a lot more downforce than everyone, it means we can brake a little bit later into those corners and just generally go a little bit faster, which means that we've got a couple opportunities in the middle section to overtake people, places you wouldn't typically consider to be overtaking spots. But I'm making them work, and that is all that I can really be happy about at the moment, as we now try and put some pressure on Norris's teammate, Oscar Piastri, our former rival. The rivalry recently ended, but that doesn't mean I don't want to beat him anymore, as we speed up time a little bit as we get through this next section. And yeah, we're going to see if we can put some pressure on him now as we come through this fast right-hander and into the heavy braking zone. And we're going to go up the inside with the greater downforce that we have. We're going to go wheel to wheel with Oscar Piastri, and we continue going wheel to wheel, in fact, as we go through this next section. And as we come up to the next braking zone, you can see I just brake a little bit later than him, pinch to the inside of the corner, but that is absolutely fine. And now we're going to try and mount the pressure on Nick de Vries to see if we can take P14. And by the time we move on to the following lap, you can see there is a big battle scrapping here for P12. Sargent, Hulkenberg, de Vries, myself, all in the mix. We go up the inside of Nick de Vries and in to P14. We've already made up 6 positions off the start in only a few laps. And at this point, getting into the top 10 is going to be absolutely trivial if things continue the way they do, as we now look for a move on Nico Hulkenberg as well from a long way back. We actually managed to find our way into P13 on this lap. He's on the soft compound tyres, for Christ's sake. It's like I'm playing on 40 AI or something like that. This is 96, I promise you. We're going to dive up the inside of Sargent through the DRS zone, but are we going to make the overtake stick? We're going to be wheel to wheel, but we get the better traction on the exit, and that is us up into P12. I can't stop making overtakes. We've made an average of 2 overtakes per lap so far. This is absolutely absurd what's going on right now, but it's not going to stop here, as we now on lap 7 go up the inside of K-Mag as well. I really don't even feel like I'm being challenged right now, quite frankly. I'm literally just pushing and pushing, and the car is just letting me do it. The car is saying, absolutely you can push. Go for it, brother. And now we're going to go up the inside of Albon as well. This is getting absolutely silly. We're already in the top 10. It's only been 8 laps. We're going to win the race if this keeps up. We move on to lap 10 now, and you can see that I am going to try and pile some pressure on Bottas, as there's a battle going on between Ocon and Stroll here as well. Bottas getting caught up behind it. We get the better exit from the corner, and we go up the inside at a very unconventional overtaking position. Bottas is going to be miffed about that one, but, you know, hard luck to him, hard luck to the Finn in the Alfa Romeo as he gets pushed down into P10. I even think about going around the outside of Ocon. I've stopped caring at this point. I'm just pushing as hard as I can, trying to make as many overtakes as I can in as short a space of time as I possibly can. 1 lap later, you already know what's coming, I feel like, at this stage. As we get a better run through that corner than Ocon, we go up the inside. He's held up behind Stroll, and we are into P8. After only 11 laps, we've made an average of more than 1 overtake per lap, which is pretty impressive for the position we find ourselves in. P12 now. We're going to pile the pressure on Lance Stroll as well, because why not? What's stopping us? Leclerc is a little bit further up the road, and I think that getting any more of these guys, I'm going to have to showcase some serious pace, but we do go up the inside of Stroll. He leaves the door open for us like he was a Silk Sonic song, and we are up into P7. I can't quite believe my own eyes at this point. It's like my Spanish Grand Prix sometimes turn out what's going on right now. But Stroll's not about to let me have it all my own way. He does make an overtake back up into P7. We try and go around the outside, and in doing so, we almost lose out a position to Esteban Ocon there, actually. We just about managed to hold on to it. But yeah, maybe this isn't quite as cut and dry as I thought it would be. But still, you know, this is a very bizarre situation we find ourselves in, making so many overtakes. early in the race. The medium tyres just seem to be taking all the punishment that I'm giving them right now. And yeah, I kind of don't want to come off them, but we are going to be going onto the hard compound tyres soon. We got the inside of Stroll once again, go a little bit deeper into the corner this time, and this maybe holds him up a tad more, which is going to try and allow us to get further away from him to make our way up into P7 and cement it if we can. But yeah, for the time being, we're looking very, very good. Following lap, we break the DRS, and they tell us that Alonso has an issue with his car, which means that potentially P6 could be mine for the taking here even. Imagine that. I started P20, and by lap like 15, I could be in P6. This should not be possible. Sergio Perez, eat your heart out. Get me in that Red Bull right now. I can't believe what I'm witnessing right now in terms of the sheer pace that we're showing. We've got pace for absolute days. And lap 17, we're finally coming into the pits, and we're going to be coming onto the hard compound of tyre. So hopefully we don't have a slow stop here, because that could really screw us over. But yeah, I think we're likely to be all right. We'll see what happens as we come up the hill into the pit lane, and you can see Leclerc's just had his stop as well. We are the final lane in the garage, the 11th pit box, myself and Fittipaldi, and here we come. Are we going to get a good stop? It looks like it's struggling a little bit to get the tyres off, but not too bad. 2.5 seconds in the end, and yes, that is a decent stop, optimal time. However, there are a few cars here that are going through that I'm thinking, I thought I overtook you guys already. Albon, Norris, those two have already pitted. I think Joe and Gasly a little bit further up are yet to pit. But I have been undercut by these guys, so we're going to have to try and get back ahead of them as quickly as we possibly can, and see if we can get back into P7 in doing so once Joe and Gasly have pitted as well. I'm just making sure that they had pitted, and as you're about to see, he's on fresh mediums, which means, yeah, he has already pitted. He just pulled off an undercut, which is very, very impressive given the circumstances, but we'll see now if we can get ahead of them sooner rather than later. Obviously they're on mediums and I'm on hards, but that doesn't seem to be stopping me from putting up a big fight at the moment, as Norris has actually got ahead of Albon here, so it's going to be Albon that I'm going to be looking to make the move on first if we can, as yeah, he's not quite as fast as me through the corners, it seems. Seems like this cornering meta that I've discovered here is working quite well. Like at that time I ran 50-50 wings in Zandvoort. That worked out quite nicely for me as well. Up the inside and through into P8. I think it's just going to be a formality at this point to get back up into P7. Any more positions I can gain from that will probably be due to DNFs, but at least we have these two positions, you know, which I'm going to go for now with the DRS up the inside of Lando Norris, but we dummy him, move back to the outside, and who's going to win out on this one? Are we going to be able to sweep around the outside of him? Of course we are, but he does keep his foot in, and actually we don't quite make the move on this occasion, and we're going to be suffering a little bit. We're going to try and make our way back up into P7 if we can. We're going to have to try and go for it at a bizarre overtaking spot for sure, but still a number of laps left to go to do it in. More than 16 laps left as we dive up the inside from a long way back and we make our way back into P7. But who knows, maybe Norris will be able to get back at us and we won't be able to hold him off as we extend the track limits, I think, for the second time in this race. So we've got to be careful now not to do it again, otherwise we will get a penalty. And as we move on to lap 23, you can see that he is yet to break away from our DRS zone. We're still in it, which means that we've got to be cognizant of Norris potentially mounting an attack on us, which I think he might be gearing up to do on this occasion, as the gap goes down to below 1/10 of a second now, up the inside. And is he going to make the overtake stick? We actually make a bit of contact there, and in the end, that allows me to make our way back through. I would argue that was maybe an illegal overtake, but the game didn't say it was, so I'm not going to treat it as one. That's how I always have rolled with this game, and that's not going to change on this occasion. So yeah, we're still running P7. Hopefully now we can try and break away from Norris through this technical section. And as you can see, as we move on to the end of lap 29 and around to start lap 30, you can see that exactly that has happened. We've found our way into a little bit of a no man's land. 7 seconds down on Alonso, almost 3 seconds up on Norris. And yeah, I'd be very surprised if we end up staying anywhere other than here for the remainder of the race. I think we'd have to have either really good pace or absolutely shocking pace. That's about the only thing I can see that is going to change the position that we find ourselves in now. As you can see through the technical section, I am pulling away from Norris once again by a few tenths only, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, something like that. But you know, it all adds up over the course of a race distance. 5 tenths for 36 laps. There's going to be an 18-second differential between me and him by the end of the race. So yeah, it definitely adds up. And yeah, we are going to be holding on to this by the looks of things, unless something drastic happens in these last 6 laps. I don't really see what's going to come and piss on our parade to close off the race, but I mean, I've been wrong about this kind of thing before. And as we move on to lap 35, you can see that we are 6 tenths ahead. Tsunoda getting out of the way. We were behind him at the start of the race, and in 35 laps we have managed to lap him. So he is having an absolutely torrid Grand Prix, even compared to his teammate Nick De Vries. And as we make our way through onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, we are still in P7, 9 seconds up the road to Alonso, 5 tenths down the road Norris, and yeah, we are just going to bring this home now. It has been a very action-packed Brazilian Grand Prix. We did a lot of overtaking at the beginning, and that maybe has allowed us to pick up a number of points. It will allow us to get back at Haas in our fight with them. Sergio Perez tries to prove to people he's not washed. No one's buying it, as he takes the checkered flag first to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, and then is going to be him from Verstappen, from Hamilton, from Leclerc, from Russell, Alonso, and I will cross the line to take P7 and a hard-earned 6 points. I can't be too disappointed with that, and yeah, hopefully we can build on this in Vegas and in Abu Dhabi to take P7 in the Constructors' Championship. Driver of the day for our troubles. What a race that ended up being.
Victory for the team from Milton Keynes then, after a quality performance. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They've performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
Congratulations to Sergio Perez, trying to get Red Bull back in the championship fight for the Constructors, but I think it might just be too little too late from him. He will no doubt be sacked next season, as yeah, he has just not delivered what they would want. He's probably a big reason why they're not closer in the Constructors' Championship. I know Verstappen obviously has had his struggles as well, and but he's at least in P2. And Hamilton, could he mount a fight for that 8th World Championship? Let's find out.
On the drivers' standings.
George Russell takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship after today's superb result.
After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I have to give it to Robinson. They demonstrated a very delicate touch in close proximity to other cars, as well as showing a lot of maturity and patience in difficult situations.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
So the only drivers mathematically still in it are Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton and Sainz. Russell taking the lead of the championship, of course. But Hamilton only 17 points down, Leclerc 1 point behind them, and Verstappen 33 points down on the championship lead. So it could be any of these guys still. It's really just going to come down to who has the strongest run of form at the end of the season. Hamilton closed up his teammate a little bit here. If Hamilton has a good race in Vegas and Abu Dhabi, he could bow out of the sport with his 8th World Championship. Mercedes have taken the lead of the Constructors for the first time in a little while now as well. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this championship pans out. We are still in 8th in the championship, but this result has probably done enough to cement that, I would say, unless Williams have an absolute blinder of a result like they did. Was it Mexico where Albon got P3? I can't remember. There was definitely one race recently where Albon got 3rd, which has helped Williams tremendously to try and get back at the fight with us. But I think this might have put it beyond doubt that we're going to finish P8 in the championship at least. But can we challenge Haas? We're only like a few points behind them now. I think 3 points behind them in the Constructors. So yeah, there is a very, very good chance that we might be able to get ahead of Haas. If I can have a good result in Vegas and a good result in Abu Dhabi, then maybe it could happen. But I'm not holding my breath, because I've played Vegas a little bit in open lobbies and the like, and it has not gone tremendously well for me. So yeah, I'm going to just not count my chickens before they've hatched. Abu Dhabi sometimes goes well for me, so maybe we'll be able to get a result there. But you know, if Haas even score 1 point, it's going to become all the harder to try and get there if we can. So yeah, I'm gonna see where we go, how things pan out. I'm just gonna try and play out the rest of the season, try and make sure we beat Williams at least, and of course Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri as well, because we do want to finish in P8 in the constructors. And yeah, if we do that, then we'll get a big cash bonus for next season, which will no doubt allow us to upgrade a number of facilities. We're also going to be signing probably a new teammate, I would have to say. But I think that glitch still exists where you have to sign them after Vegas rather than before the end of the season. So we might get a new teammate in before the end of the season to, or before the final race of the season, I should say, to drive the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with us. Let me know down in the comments who you want to see in the team. Do you want to see an experienced driver, or do you want to see another rookie? I don't think we're going to be keeping Fittipaldi. He's not really done anything particularly remarkable. I know it's a difficult car to drive, but really I would have hoped that he would have got points on at least one occasion, which he hasn't done. His only really good quali was that one in Baku, where he qualified P10. Other than that, he's not really been particularly spectacular. So yeah, let me know. What do you guys want to see? Do you want to see an experienced older hand at the wheel, or do you want to see me giving another rookie a try, or maybe just someone else entirely? But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe. I'm hoping to have a new video out tomorrow as well, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.